Hello, I'm Deacon Harold, and I'm joined by Nick and Ellen, and you're watching The Prodigal Life, where we share the beauty and truth of our Catholic faith in love.
Yeah, what are we talking about today, Ellen?
We're going to talk about our favorite prayers, and then we're going to talk about our guardian angels and angels in general and try and get some theological basis for them and make sure we all know our guardian angel prayer and just like what all that looks like so that we know how angels, how important they are in our daily lives and how important they were in like the faith of our fathers, for you know what I mean, for lack of a better description. So we're going to go angeling. So, and prayers and talk about some really, kind of something good, especially during the Easter season, you know what I mean? Because we're still in the Easter season. So we're just going to talk about, so Deacon, if you can give us some basis about, prayers I think has gone as long as forever, right? Is prayer always been, do we even know when the first recorded prayer was?
Yeah, so prayer basically is just conversation with God, right? You can't get to know someone deeply, personally, or intimately without talking to them, right? So
Amen.
How do you get to know your spouse without talking to them? It's not like telekinesis, like I'm gonna look at you and you're gonna just fall in love with me. It just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way for you guys?
All right.
For you, Nick.
Nick and Alina, man. Nick and Alina.
No, but so just like you get, it's a personal relationship, right? For example, in baptism, the first question is, what name do you give this child? Right, because God wants to know what name. Because when you introduce someone, you ask them what their name is. The same thing here. So it's a personal relationship with God, and so prayer at its very core is a conversation with God. And the deeper the intimacy you want, the deeper your prayer life is going to be with God. That's basically what it is in a nutshell.
Well, it could even be worth drawing that distinction that it really is communication. Is that because it doesn't have to be with God, right? And so this is like one of my biggest pet peeves with RCIA directors and anyone that's teaching an RCIA class is like, we don't pray to the saints, we pray with. No, we do pray to the saints because prayer is just communication. It's it's like Old English, they might have said, I pray you reconsider this course of action. It's like, it's just, I'm asking something. It's a supplication, right? And so when we're praying to the saints, it doesn't mean we're worshiping them because prayer is not synonymous with worship. It's communication. Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there since we're talking about and defining prayer. Yeah. That's a hugely important, because people are so confused about it.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Well, it's like intercessory. That's sometimes you're praying just because you're like, well, this person was holy. You know what I mean? Or you really relate to their story. There's certain saints even, that you're just really in tune with. And you'll just say, well, gosh, can you just, help me out? You know what I mean? And maybe even say a prayer that might be attributed to them and, and just help. Everybody seems to know the St. Francis prayer, you know what I mean? And that's pretty common, and there's, the Our Father and the Hail Mary and everything else. But then there's some less known prayers and even some more obscure prayers. But even just the simple prayer that is with the Divine Mercy is, Jesus, I trust in you. That is a simple, powerful prayer that you don't even really have to, you just have to say it. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out, what prayer, what you want your prayer to do. Or why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you expect something back, or are you doing it because you really are just giving glory and honor and saying, I can't do this. This is like above my pay grade. I need help, Lord, or I need help, St. Joseph, or I need help, Mother Mary, or whatever it is. I think a lot of people pray only when there's something wrong. They never pray to say thank you. That's why I think that Jesus, I trust in you is just such a simple, beautiful thing to do, because you're literally just saying, I got nothing. I give it to you, Jesus. Let's see what we can do to, can you help me out here or whatever? But on the backside of it, maybe you're just trying to say thank you, because prayer can be for thanks also, right? It's not just for in times of need.
Right. For me, I don't think I have a favorite prayer. Okay. I think for me, it's like the Psalms, so there's certain times, like if I'm preparing for a speaking engagement, right? And I'll just say, like Psalm 59:18, oh, my strength, it is you to whom I turn. For you, oh God, are my stronghold, the God who shows me love. So a piece like, or the start of Psalm 63, oh God, you are my God. For you I long. For you my soul is thirsting. For you, my flesh is pining like a dry, weary land without water. So I gaze on you in the sanctuary to see your strength and your glory. For your love is better than life. Like, dang. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's those kinds of things that I spend time reflecting on and just incorporate into my own personal life to get me ready for something, or just even, Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I trust you. Jesus, I give my life to you.
Right.
Something simple like that.
Yeah.
For me, those are the most powerful ones.
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous. I can still hear when we were in the Holy Land together, and we'd go down into the pit, and you would read the Psalm.
Psalm 88.
Psalm 88, and I can still hear it, because you could have heard a pin drop. There were like 20 of us in the bottom of the pit. There's like a single light on. It's dark. It's moist. It's just horrible. There was no light when Jesus was in there, and you're just there. And then I can still hear you reading the psalm, but then you pause, and at the very end you say, and my only friend is darkness. My one companion is darkness.
Yeah.
And then it's just dead silence. And you're just like, imagine the Lord, just in that, my only companion is darkness, because he was completely alone. It's just, that's prayer. That's a prayer. But, sometimes the prayer isn't just about giving or saying the prayer. It's about receiving the prayer, because I considered you reading that aloud to us pilgrims was like, you were giving us that prayer so that we could really dig deep and understand, what the meaning of that psalm was. Because Psalm 88, man, will just sit you back. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Psalm 88 is traditionally the psalm Jesus would have prayed in the cistern, which is what he was in. On Holy Thursday before going to the Praetorium on Good Friday.
Yeah, and even though we're through the resurrection, we still can't remember. We still always need to remember the passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because suffering is a part of the journey. I mean, look at what he had to do to get to where he, to save us. So it's just part of it. So
Amen.
Prayer is good.
Prayer-wise?
Yeah, what do you got?
My wife and I love praying the rosary together and praying with our kids.
There you go.
And me personally, when I'm by myself, I love praying the divine office. When I can start my day before the rest of the family's awake, and it's just me, maybe my dog, and the darkness initially, and then the sunrise, and I'm praying the divine office there. It's just like I just feel so connected to God in that moment. And in the divine office, if you don't know, it's the liturgy of the hours. You're praying the Psalms. You're getting passages from Scripture, depending on which parts of the office you're doing. You're getting like different writings from different popes or bishops or early church fathers. Like it's just it's such a great wonderful amalgamation of all of the gifts that our church has to offer, and I just love starting my day with that. And my kids, by the grace of God, they are handling the Rosary, the Divine Mercy Chaplet so beautifully.
Nice.
We love singing the Salve Regina with them at bedtime every night, and they're just picking it up. It's just so cute to hear my little kids' voices praying and singing in Latin, and singing that beautiful ancient hymn. It's just
beautiful.
awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I have really good memories about learning to pray when I was little. I mean, I really only knew the Our Father and the Hail Mary, and I knew the Salve Regina. I could sing that when I was little, but other than that, I really didn't. I would say I didn't really have a prayer life, like my entire life. I didn't know how to say the Rosary. I was never taught till I was like 50, and I learned on the back of the bus in the Holy Land. So, but I have this wonderful memory of my dad coming into my bedroom every night to say goodnight to me, and every day we would learn a new line on the Our Father. And that's how I learned the Our Father. I was like 2 or 3 years old. And we would just start, I think I was 2. And he would recite, and then I would copy him, and then he would say the whole thing. And so that's how I learned the Our Father. My father taught me the Our Father a line at a time at bedtime, which was awesome. The Hail Mary, I think I just learned in school. It was just something you did. You learned how to say it. So like as this journey of mine has continued, basically what has happened is I have just kind of let the Holy Spirit kind of guide me to whatever the prayer is going to be for my life. And what happened is was felt very called to the Auxilium Christorum prayers, the deliverance prayers, Father Rippinger. We can put up a link to that. It's not something that you do without talking to your priest or your spiritual director, because they're very, very powerful prayers. But I felt very called to do them, and I do them every day, almost every day. And they are just beautiful. On day 5, on Fridays, when you do your Auxilium Christorum prayers, you actually recite the Litany of Humility during the prayer process.
That is another prayer I love.
And I'm just saying, we brought it up before. It's a hard prayer, but it really, it'll really kind of make you understand your role, like, in a good way, not in a bad way. But the prayer that I have is the most important prayer to me right now, is the consecration of one's exterior goods to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I do it every day, regardless of what is going on in my life. And I highly recommend looking to it. Every day it's a renewal of your baptismal vows. And then it's also turning everything that you own, every single part of your life, and giving it to Our Lady so that the devil cannot interfere. It's literally this beautiful consecration prayer, which I can read if you want to hear part of it. I'll just share part of it with you. I have to put my glasses on because I'm old and blind. So we're going to do that. So it starts out and you say I and then your name. So I always go Ellen, and I always use my confirmation name. And I'll say I Ellen Maria Holmes Steeves LeBlanc, a faithless sinner, renew and ratify today in thy hands the vows of my baptism. I renounce forever Satan, his pomps and works. I give myself entirely to Jesus Christ, the incarnate wisdom, to carry my cross after him all the days of my life, and to be more faithful to him than I've ever been before. In the presence of the heavenly court, I choose thee, O Mary, this day for my mother and mistress, knowing that I have received rights over all of my exterior goods by the promulgation of the natural law by the divine author. I deliver and consecrate to thee as thy slave all of my exterior goods, past, present, and future. I relinquish into thy hands, my heavenly mother, all rights over my exterior goods, including my health, finances, relationships, possessions, property, my family, my job, and my earthly success. And I retain for myself no right of disposing of the goods that come to me, but leave to thee the entire and full right of disposing with all that belongs to me without exception, according to thy good pleasure, for the greater glory of God in time and eternity. As I now interiorly relinquish what belongs to me exteriorly into thy hands, I entrust to thee the protection of those exterior goods against the evil one, so that knowing that they now belong to thee, he cannot touch them. Receive, all good and pious Virgin, this little offering of what little is, in honor of and in union with that subjection which the eternal wisdom deigned to have to thy maternity, in homage to the power which both of you have over this poor sinner, and in thanksgiving for the privileges with which the Holy Trinity has favored thee. Trusting in the providential care of God the Father and thy maternal care, I have full confidence that thou wilt take care of me as to the necessities of this life and will not leave me forsaken. God the Father, increase my trust in thy Son's mother. Our Lady of fair love, give me perfect confidence in the providence of thy Son.
That's beautiful.
And that, to me, sums up prayer. Like, in a previous episode, we talked about, when I realized that, I had no control over anything, when that person that I loved dearly was going to commit suicide. And, I had to turn it all over. And this prayer to me is just like kind of the icing on the cake for that. It's just sitting down and having an honest communication with God and Our Lady and saying, I trust you. Like, I give you everything. Nothing is mine. I own nothing. I have nothing. I give it all to you, and just help me serve you. Help me trust you. Help me. Obviously I'm your slave and I'm your sinner, and I've done a lot of really bad things and everything else. But I really want to do better. To me, that's what that prayer means, and it's just a beautiful prayer. And Father Rippinger, the exorcist, and we can put a link up to the deliverance prayers, but please do not do them without talking to your spiritual director or your priest, and only if you're in grace, because they are powerful. And I'm going to tell you, you need to buckle up if you decide to join the Auxilium Christorum, because it is a group that you can join and pray with the priests. And really help people. So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's
Very
good.
cool.
Yeah. I know for myself, what I've been doing, especially since we had the year of St. Joseph, was doing more devotional prayers, asking for Joseph's intercession.
Yes.
You know, there's one in particular, was "Oh, glorious St. Joseph, you who have power to render possible even things that are considered impossible, come to our aid in our present trouble and distress. Take this important and difficult affair under your particular protection, that it may end happily." And then you name whatever your request is, and it goes on from there.
Nice.
So, I mean, that to me, you know, as I have like daily prayers that I do, of course, I have to pray the office, you know, as a
I just
as a
started praying in
clergy.
the office with my dad. It was
Which
amazing.
I've always loved ever since I was in high school. I first started praying with the monks. And so, the Psalms for me is really moves me into a whole different place of prayer.
Nice.
You know, and I've been praying almost my whole life, you know, ever since I was a teenager. And now it's great because the Psalms don't lose any meaning or power praying them for over 40 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
you
still
think after a
make
while,
you-
oh, that's stale. Oh, that Psalm again.
No.
Oh, you know how many times I prayed that? But it's always, you know, if you're living what I call Eucharistically, you know, where you're really taking word and sacrament and incorporating it into your everyday lived experience, I'm always finding richer meaning in the Psalms. You know, where you're applying it to your lived experience, where you see yourself in the Psalms, you see your story.
Well,
in the Psalms,
because
so-
you're changing.
right.
Like, I mean, the whole
Yeah.
purpose of prayer, right, is to grow and get deeper, right? And to improve your relationship with your higher power, you know, with God.
Yeah, so as we change, the impact that it can have on
Right.
us can change. And I think that the other factor is that all of Scripture is timeless. I mean, it is divine. It is not divine in the sense that it is not God. That would be a heresy. But it is from God. It is a gift from God to us, and it is timeless.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely. And I just, but the hard part is praying when it's hard to pray. I think that's
You
what people
shared
struggle
about
with.
that in another episode
Yeah,
about when your
yeah.
friend died and
Yeah.
you still were doing it, but there wasn't anything there. You
And you
said.
were telling your spiritual director, "I don't have time to pray." He's like, "Well, you should pray more."
Right, exactly. You know, and I think that's important for people to remember that you just push through. You know, you're going through something really hard. You know, it feels like God is not there, but He's always there with you.
Well, grace will
and prayer
abound.
is a way to keep that connection.
Yep.
You know,
It
and
was
ask
like-
for help.
Yeah, it was like this morning. I mean, I drove 12 hours yesterday. We had a meeting. You know what I mean? I get to bed at like midnight, and I woke up and I was like, oh, and I planned to go to mass this morning. I mean, I kind of said it. There was a 7:30 mass, and I'm laying there, and it's like 7:00, and like, you know, the devil's like, oh, you don't need to go, and I'm like, oh, yeah, really, I do. I really, really do now. You know what I mean? But I could have so easily just laid there, you know, for a little while longer. And then, it's just too late. I can't make it today. And there's not another one this evening, and on and on. And I was just like, I need to go pray. Like, I really need, you know, that I've found that when you have that, when you don't want to, is when you need to the most. Would you agree with that? Like the times when you're like, I don't really want to, in the end, you find out that if you actually do it, you know, go to mass or say the rosary or do your prayers or do your office, you're like, okay, that was good. And it kind of helps connect you again. What do you think? Yeah?
100%. And I also
Yeah.
think that connected to that, we don't normally present this way, but I think that when we are executing on the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, that too can be a manifestation of prayer, not such that it can replace a prayer life, but that, you know, so like the example, what made me think about this is when you were talking about not having enough time and Deacon talking about that, and then you like being tempted, like, you don't need to go to mass this morning. You have other, you know, you could keep resting. You have a long day of recording ahead of you. And I had a moment like that last night, you know, getting all of this worked out to do an off-site mini Awaken studio and make it look somewhat cohesive with everything else we do.
Right.
I was up till like 2 a.m. Building this out in my house as a dry run, tearing it all down, packing it all up, and then I'm finally brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed. And my son Augustine, he's not been feeling well, and so he goes and he wakes Alina up, and then they're both up. And I was like, there was this moment where the devil was tugging at me like, Nick, you could just go to bed because Alina's got this, and you have to get up early, and you already haven't slept enough for tomorrow and whatever. And then I was like, no, I'm going to serve both my wife and my son in this moment by being present to them in this moment. So my wife's not dealing with this by herself. She's pregnant. She's not feeling well,
Right.
you know, and I just like, that was to me a potentially simultaneously both a corporal and a spiritual work of mercy. And it was like when Jesus tells us, if we clothe someone, we're clothing him, right? If we feed someone, we're feeding him. Like, in that sense, that's what I mean about these things kind of being manifestations of prayer, because we're having an encounter with him. And so, like, in all of these areas, the devil just wants to creep in this notion, like, comfort. What's easier? And, you know, Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, good Lord, dude, get a shorter name. I mean, am I right? Anyways, you know, he famously said, we were not made for comfort, we were made for greatness. And that applies to our prayer lives, that applies to our lives of behaving, acting in virtue, in service. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
Very, very big deal.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I was thinking about prayers, and like the one thing that I really didn't ever know anything about was like guardian angels. And you have there's a guardian angel prayer, which I just learned. You know, angel of God, my guardian dear, to whose love commits me here, ever this day, be at my side, to light, to guard, to rule, to guide. I was like, well, that's a nice prayer. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, guardian angel. Okay. So you're given one at birth, I'm guessing, or at conception. I guess one is assigned. Is that our belief? And where does that come from? And like, yeah, I think we are going to talk, I'm going to have Deacon talk a little bit about angels and how they're present in the Bible and how they are given to us or present to us and where that comes from. And because I don't know that a lot of people know a whole lot about that. And like, you're supposed to talk to your guardian angel. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where if I'm going into something scary or going down a big steep staircase or carrying something I probably shouldn't be carrying, I'll be like, okay, guardian angel. All right, St. Michael, you got this. I go, you know, just like trying to dispel anything that could go wrong, which I don't think that sounds superstitious necessarily. So, you know what I mean? But that's that gray area that I think we need to always keep it in faith. So
I'm almost wondering if we should just do a whole episode on that. We're at 23 minutes.
We are, but I think we'll dabble into it a little bit, since we can talk about maybe the St. Michael prayer, you know what I mean, the guardian angel prayer and where those stem from. And then we'll do a guardian, and then we can do a whole angel show too. But I think we can at least touch on it and open the conversation. So, because I think a lot of people might have questions about guardian angels and angels in general.
Well, I think part of this is part of the intercessory prayer, right? So, so we talk about those who have died, and we say the priest says the Eucharistic prayer, gone before us, marked with the sign of faith. You know, so those that are in heaven with God, in a sense, are more alive than we are, right? That's the church triumphant. So we got the church militant on earth.
That's us.
Us, all of us. The church suffering, the church of purgatory, and the church triumphant. Those are in heaven. And so heaven is where we all hope to be one day. So everyone that's there, in a sense, is more alive than we are, because they're in the presence of God, where we hope to be one day.
Okay.
And God says, I'm not the God of the dead, I'm the God of the living. Right? So why wouldn't we ask them for their help? Just like we would ask somebody here on earth. If your daughter is sick or someone you love is sick, you ask, could you please pray for them?
Pray for my daughter.
Why wouldn't we ask those who are closer to God than we are also for their help and intercession? That's where it comes from. Of course, angels are created by God. They're created beings just like we are, except they're pure spirit, right? And they're also created with infused knowledge. So they know everything they're supposed to know at the moment of their creation, and they can say yes or no to God.
But they can take form, because like in the book of Tobit,
in order to do God's will, they can
take form.
Yeah, if they're exercising something, it's part of God's will. So there's 9 different levels of angels.
Wow.
Right. So there's angels, archangels, cherubim, seraphim, thrones, dominions, principalities, powers, and virtues. Are the 9 levels of angels.
Those names ring a bell to me.
That's our patron.
It's our patron community.
Our patron community.
If you want to become an angel,
you can become a throne and dominion. Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's
so
right.
yeah, we didn't do that on purpose. That just kind of happened.
Yeah. So the guardian angels. So angels have been assigned duties by God, and some of those duties include assisting us. You know, and so some of them do it as messengers, like Michael. You know. Some of them are guardians, angels, that help to guard and protect us.
Everybody here has had something that happened to them probably where they might not have lived, or they could have been injured or hurt or whatever. And it was just kind of, something that happened that, there had to be the hand of God in it somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was just in Alaska, and I was showing pictures because there was a woman there that was actually at this accident scene where I got hit from behind from a young man who was texting.
Just now in Alaska?
No, this was happening the last time I was there, but I was showing someone that was at the scene pictures because they said, I remember last time you were here, you got the accident. And the cop that showed up on the scene thought I was dead because it pushed my car across 2 lanes of traffic, up an embankment and into a tree. And all I remember is I was sitting at the intersection, stopped,
right,
indicating left, waiting for traffic to clear. And all of a sudden, this kid hit me at 50 miles an hour from behind, texting while he was driving. He drifted into my lane and hit me.
Unbelievable.
And I remember the impact. And the next thing I remember is the seat, the driver's seat was broken. I was laying flat, and there was a tree branch through the windshield. And I'm like, and I remember thinking, why is there a tree in the car? and then I said, was I just in an accident? I mean,
you have no memory.
No memory. And then here's the best part.
Wow.
I wasn't injured at all. Not even a headache. Nothing. Zero. The cop. So I hear sirens because obviously someone's called up. I hear sirens. The cop, because the airbag's deployed,
Wow.
he lifts up the passenger side window and looks in. He sees me. Goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "We're gonna have to get the fire department to get you out of there." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be right here." And it got me out.
Wow.
And then I had no scratches, no injuries, no headache. Nothing, zero. Even the priest showed up on the scene, brought his kit because he thought he had to do last rites or something. And he took me to the hospital. I said, "Father, I'm fine." He goes, "No, you're in shock. You're in shock." Doctor examined me, nothing wrong. Gave me some medication for the next day.
God laid
Woke up the next morning, no headache, no soreness, nothing.
You've never had a
zero. No.
Isn't that amazing?
Nothing.
And that is when
your guardian angel broke the seat so that you would get
so that the tree branch
harm.
wouldn't hit me. Yeah.
That's
Can
amazing.
you imagine that? I mean,
wow.
I'm thinking, how could you not believe in a guardian angel with something like that happens?
Yeah.
When when you just look at it objectively, like, whoa, this guy.
Well, because that's why God has angels, right? So they can do His will if it's something that He really wants. Like He wanted to protect you, so He was like, okay, we got to fix this. You know what I mean? Because He's all knowing, all powerful, can change anything. By literally.
And we
blinking
see
his eyes.
how that also happens in the scriptures as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just something that happened in the Bible. God does that now, for all of us. And some people try to name their guardian angel, which you shouldn't do.
Right now.
Because they already have names. You just don't know what they are.
Correct. The only 3 angels
some
is
have been
Michael,
revealed.
Raphael,
Yes, some
and
of the
Gabriel.
names have been revealed. And all those names mean something, right? So
Right.
so the L at the end, like the 3 you just mentioned.
Correct. Michael,
so
Raphael,
L
and Gabriel.
is short for Elohim, which is the spoken name of God. So Michael means who is like God. Gabriel means the strength of God. And Raphael means the remedy of God. So they already have names given to them by God.
Wow.
Some of those names have been revealed to us. So your guardian angel already has a name.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
you'll
why I
probably
think why
find out
even
when
in
you
the
get to
prayer
heaven
they
what
say
it is.
guardian, my guardian dear. You
Yeah.
just kind of call it your guardian angel. You don't have to give it names and do all kinds of stuff. So have you ever had a moment where you knew that your guardian angel did something?
Every day.
That is good.
Yeah, no, I've had many moments like that. One was a car accident as well. I was in the car with my sister. We were driving to school. We were running late. It was snowy and icy. And one thing leads to another. And my car is going into a golf course. It takes, it crashes through the fencing of the golf course.
Wow.
And takes one of the hills of one of the, what do they call it? I don't play golf. One of the
Sam,
18,
the bunker. Oh, one of the putting greens or the greens, or there's bunkers.
There was a thing, and there was a hill. So our car takes the hill like a ramp and lands, and we're looking around, and like there's this huge, basically what became a spear of a piece of wood from the fencing that had cut through my car door and missed me by like a hair.
Wow.
And like it was kind of
Wow.
like your situation. It was unbelievable.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
I mean, there are so many things. I am constantly at risk. So, don't tell the Knights of Columbus.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's
So you keep
hilarious.
your angels busy then.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people know about the angels too, because the third of the angels said no. Like God created the angels to do his, help do his will and take care of all of us that were being created, as numerous as the stars, right? But then there was a third of them that were like, no, we're not going to serve. And they become the bad angels that are now, I mean, do we consider them demons? I mean, is that what the guardian angels that said,
Yeah.
no, we're not doing this? Are they now what we would call
and
demons?
to see that, you go to Revelation chapter 12, because
Okay.
right after it talks about the archetype of the Blessed Mother there, right? The one with the crown of 12 stars,
Clothed in the sun.
clothed the sun, moon on her feet. After that, it talks about the fall of Satan, and it says that so Michael and the archangels fought against Satan and the angels that followed him, which demons, and it says exorkizo is the word in Greek, exorcism. They were cast out to earth.
Yeah, I know they're here.
It's very confusing. Oh, what the hell? There's no hell yet.
Right.
there's no hell yet. So, so they were cast down to earth, and they're still here.
They're still here.
Yeah.
So that's why the battle's going on. But ultimately, nothing happens without God's permission.
No,
So
they have free will.
They
so
have free will,
yeah.
but if God's like no, which is why
we have the guardian
hit a tree
angels to
at 50
protect us.
miles an hour and
Yeah.
nothing happened, and you decided to tour a golf course and nothing happened, and when I was a kid and I fell off that 70-foot cliff and walked home, nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is in another episode.
That was like one of the first ones.
Yeah.
It is one of the first
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah. I mean, because it's just, I remember it, vividly. There are witnesses to it. I mean, it makes no sense. My brother can't talk about it to this day. And, I had this overwhelming sense of peace. And I can remember getting up at the bottom and I had like the 3 marks on my leg, and that was that. I mean, and I should be dead, but God does what God wants.
Well, we're all glad that you're not.
Well,
Yeah.
here we are, and here we are. But
And the angels help us, right? I mean, so against those forces,
Right.
part of it is to help us helps against the demons and the forces that are trying to, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill God's life in us. They're trying to destroy covenant relationship with God.
Right.
And so God gives us helps along the way that doesn't take away our free will, because we still have to say yes,
Right.
but he gives us help. And the
love
angels
that.
is just part of those help as well.
Wow. Yeah, there's some good stuff. I think the most touching angel story to me in the Bible, because there's several of them throughout it, is when God sends an angel to comfort his son in the agony of the garden at Gethsemane. I mean, I love, what was it, Raphael that went to Tobit, and you know what I mean? Of course, Gabriel went to see our Blessed Mother, and, all of that. But, it's like God, it's almost to me, almost like, yeah, it was an angel that he sent to him. But I almost somewhere inside myself like to say that, that was how God went to comfort his son. He couldn't get there any other way, but he wanted to be there with him to comfort, just to be with him while, he was sweating blood and being, I'm assuming being shown all the sins of the world, past, present, and future, that he was going to die for. I mean, that's just a big ask. But I love the fact that the Lord, sent an angel so that he could be there with him, so he wasn't alone in that suffering. To me, that's just beautiful. Yeah. Good stuff.
All right.
Good stuff. So we're going to do an angel episode, because that's what Nick has determined that we're going to do that, which is good. And we know Nick's perfect.
It was only a proposition.
No, but we will. We'll have another episode about angels and all that. And if y'all like what you're hearing, please consider getting the app. Go to the awakenapp.io.
Nailed it.
Yes. And you can get on what can you get on? Apple, Google, Play Store.
So yeah, the Google Play Store, Apple App Store.
Yep, all of that.
Or on a web browser on a desktop.
Oh yeah, you can get it, and there's like messaging and other podcasts and music and all kinds of really good stuff. And you can see all our previous episodes. You should be able to ask questions. So if you want us to help you talk about any other subject matter, we can do that too. And then Deacon, what else can they do for us?
Yeah, if you want to become a patron and support the podcast, go to theprodigallife.com. You see the different levels of giving there, which again corresponds with different ranks of angels. Yeah, so you can be a cherubim or a seraphim, and
but we'll be happy if you're just an angel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Please come back. We're going to do another new episode every week, every Wednesday. There's a new one coming out. So, all right. God bless y'all.
Bye, everybody.